Colin, we good?
Yep.
All right. Hey, Facebook for friends. Sorry about that. I know there were technical difficulties last week. We're trying to work through the kinks. John is like this guru now, and he's figuring out what we're doing. So we're going to be good to go. We're here today. You're going to see the behind the scenes at the Vault recording studio. This is super exciting. We are not recording here all the time because I know people start to say like, oh, now is that your recording studio? We wish. We're going to put in our pitch for it, but basically you get to see the behind the scenes of the podcast. We're going to talk about a little something super important to all of us and our community, which is SOS. And John and I are sharing a mic. You're up.
So, yeah, you'll see behind the scenes, as Rachel said. Normally, you would see guests going in and out, but today we actually have a round table. And our music this week you'll hear at the end of the show. So, again, you'll see a little bit of maybe disruption just because, but make sure you download the podcast on Monday on radio.com app or on Tuesday on YaJagoff.com. And now we just get the podcast started, right? All right, so this is how we do it. While used cars are always an option to buy, a slew of 2021 models are in demand since production changed the car options for many 2020 vehicles.
Whether an oldie but goodie or a new must-have high-tech vehicle, visit Rorick.com for all of your vehicle needs. And now we start the YaJagoff podcast at the Vault in... Is this Neville Island?
Yes. This is Neville Island.
This is the YaJagoff podcast. Listen, near and dear to my heart, we're going to talk about a little Save Our Stages. We've gotten to know some of these guys who have really put their efforts and their heart and souls into this initiative because as we want a disclaimer... Everybody is dealing in a different way through the COVID-19 effects. Every small business, every large business, everybody has their thing. Our hearts go out to everybody. But as we said, there's certain little pockets that are nearer and dearer to certain people. And it's just important to John and I coming from entertainment backgrounds to focus on the fact that maybe there's a way that we can help. So before we get into the podcast, what was on the blog, John?
So this week we had the so someone sent us a picture of a guy, not a picture of the guy because we can't do that. Someone sent us a story about a guy who was at Walmart because they have this really nice return policy. They'll pretty much return anything. And a guy had a dripping car battery, and he was mad that they were not going to take his car battery back. So that was one of the JaGoffs, and then you wrote a blog about the Bernie memes were hilarious. If you're looking for happiness in this time of when you're doldrums, go look at the Bernie memes. But then there were some people that were actually offended about Bernie memes. For God's sakes, nobody's treating Bernie bad. He's like everybody's grandpap who will literally give you anything you want. And, right? So anyways, so the JaGoff of the week actually for Alista was the Bernie meme, people who didn't like the Bernie memes. So if you're listening to the podcast for the very first time, make sure you go to the radio.com app and subscribe to it or Apple iTunes. If you're on Apple iTunes, please give us a rating. 4 or 5 would be good. There's not a 10, so just give us a 4 or 5 because that helps in the rankings on the Apple iTunes. So, anyways, today's, as you said, a little bit of a different podcast. We normally have people in and out, kind of changing guests, but this is like a nice social issue for us to tackle because of the entertainment background here. So we're just going to have everybody in here talking about what we're talking about because, everybody, as you said, has had an issue. Everybody's trying to figure it out. And as Bob, who we're going to meet in a little bit, said, the performance venues were the first to close and they'll be the last to open. And so this is, we know everybody's trying to help each other out. We're helping restaurants, we're helping servers, and this is our way to help the entertainment industry.
Well said. And so I think it's best is if you are an avid follower, you know that we technically and typically do this magazine style where we give a couple minutes to each guest, but we're going to actually go down the line. I'm going to introduce you that we have Bob, Eric, and Adam here, and they're going to let you know who they are and why we are here today at the Vault Studio, which you have to check out because you need to explain what this is too. So if you can introduce, Bob, who you are, where we are, and your affiliation with Save Our Stages.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. I'm Bob Mccutchen. I'm the owner of the Vault Recording Studio here on Neville Island. And the studio is a full production recording studio that we built and opened officially, I guess, back in 2018. And got involved with Eric. We've been working together a lot with Royal Honey, his band. And he came up with the idea of SOS to try to help the local venues. And so we recorded the song here originally. And as the guys will say, it started off as an idea with a couple of bands to a full community of artists and musicians who came together to record the song. And now it's expanding into a concert series. So just happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, I love that. And Eric, you may have seen him, because if you're true YaJagoff followers, you are watching our Toyota tailgates, because everything in Pittsburgh deserves a tailgate. And Eric was on there when we were live at Excuses, when the song actually came out 2 weeks ago.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so welcome, Eric.
Thank you. I'm Eric Roger. I'm the guitarist in a band called Royal Honey. And back in late September or early October, I came up with an idea for a song that was kind of just hitting me. It was an idea for SOS 2020, and when I realized that it wasn't sounding like a song that would fit in my band's set list, I actually went to Bob and I said, I've got this idea. It's not going away. It's kind of a catchy, cheesy chorus, and I've got this idea for maybe bringing other bands in and doing some gang style chant, like backing vocals. I said, I think we could probably get, maybe 6 or 8 of our friends' bands to come through, and I wanted to get my friend Rocky Lamondi from the Borstal Boys to play bass on it and produce it, and I figured we could probably put this together in a couple of weeks. So I had the idea for this song. Rocky got involved, and now has, we put the song out. It came out on January 8th. Rocky then had the idea to turn it into a concert series, which is kicking off on January 28th. That'll go for 4 weeks. And then Bob really had the idea to, song, concerts, shows, and Bob had the idea to take it and maybe see if we can make a whole community out of this. And so that's really where I think where the direction of the idea is going. And I couldn't be happier about that, because, an idea that just kind of came to me, either, in bed or in the shower, has kind of blossomed into this whole initiative that I just feel great about. We all feel great about, and we just wanted the venues and everybody else who's part of this infrastructure for live music in this town to know that the bands are with them. And we had 27 bands and over 60 musicians show up just for the song, and now that circle's even expanding more than that, with the concert series and the community that we're trying to build out of it.
And our next guest, or additional guest, a part of the roundtable, is Adam Valen from Drusky Entertainment. Adam, you've been on the podcast. We've been goofing off, watching, rating karaoke in Market Square. And this is a little more serious because, again, this affects your wallet. This affects the people that you know. So tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing with the whole SOS connection.
Yeah, and thanks, John. Thanks, Rachel, for having me back on again. My name is Adam Valen, and aside from, my day-to-day is with Drusky Entertainment as marketing manager, but over the last 10 months, I've really been involved with the National Independent Venue Association, which is a collective of now about 3,000 independent venues, promoters, festivals across all 50 states and D.C., all with the collective mission to try and help preserve the ecosystem of the independent venues and musical ecosystem. And I think that it's a perfect dovetail to what Eric mentioned about community, about how the need for this all to kind of come together, because as you mentioned before, and what we've been, kind of flaunting almost, is that, our industry was one of the first to close and it will be one of the last to reopen. So going on, now almost a year with no revenue, trying to find ways to, advocate for ourselves and to bring this community together to understand that not only, is there an economic is our industry an economic driver for our communities, but the quality of life that we bring in just every day, the need to get out to go to a show and just that urge to do that we can't do anymore. I think the sense of community that has been built around this movement of Save Our Stages has really started to transition now, into more of a local communal approach. That's why I'm really, really thrilled to hear about what Bob and Eric have been doing with the SOS 2020. I really wasn't even officially, introduced into it until we have these weekly meetings with a lot of our, local independent venues now that by day we're typically competitors. I mean, that's what our nature is to do, we compete against each other to try and get shows into our venues. But lately, just out of necessity to just survive this together, we've been coming together and trying to have conversations to figure out how we can help one another. And I remember one week Liz Berlin from Mr. Smalls was on our call and was like, "Hey guys, I just got asked to do this song called SOS 2020. They asked me to come in, and I had never heard of it before." And that's when I started approaching Eric and Bob about the song and immediately wanted to get involved in it because it, again, dovetailing into the idea of community, it really affects everybody. The idea of our venues closing around town if there's no support coming from it. Where are our artists going to play? Where are our staff going to go to? It's just this really big, humbling experience to kind of rally behind, and that's what we've been trying to support over the last 10 to 12 months or so.
And in our culture of disclaiming, I just wanted to disclaim that we have diversity in your group. We have diversity in all of this. Mm-hmm. However, this is a recording studio, and we can only fit so many people in here. Right. So, I realize what with the panel that we have here, but we do know that the SOS process and project involves quite a diverse of individuals. Eric, do you want to talk about that even?
Sure. I mean, so, like I said, it started as a small idea, and originally I just figured, Rocky and I would throw down the basic tracks, because between the two of us, we've got the ability to play, all the instruments, and then I thought that we would bring in, maybe 5 or 6 of our friends with great voices to do lead and backing vocals. But once we started, putting the call out for help, everybody was saying yes. And then Bob said, well, let's expand the amount of time that we can give to this. So he just volunteered more studio hours, which was the only way that we could afford to bring in 27 bands and 60 musicians. So, we've got an array of different genres. We've got, we've got friends that are girls. We've got, friends that are minorities. We've got friends, we had Liz and Patrick from Rusted Root volunteer their time. That was, I don't want to say surprising to me because, Patrick is a friend. He was in the Borstal Boys for a while, and we shared studio space with them at a rehearsal space. And so, it wasn't overly surprising, but when those guys and people like Keith Nelson, who was a founder of Buck Cherry, was willing to take a day and record guitar tracks from LA and send them to us, and then we had some nationally renowned people from like the heavy metal side of things. So we basically, we tried to invite everybody that we could in the limited amount of studio time, right, because we needed to shotgun the project as well. It was called SOS 2020, so our goal was to have it out by the end of 2020, and we missed that by a week because of the lead time we needed for for the streaming sites and the distribution sites. It came out on January 8th, but the whole project was pretty much from concept to implementation was, I think, less than 3 months. It was late October to basically right, Christmas.
Which, Bob, if you can jump in and explain. Yeah. So to you three, it's like, wow, that's not a lot of time. But people who really don't know the industry, they might think, oh, 3 months is a lot of time. So can you explain a little bit about, and before you even go into that, I think it's important to say, I'm sure that you are hit up regularly for, hey, do you want to give me some free studio time? Because I'm the next thing, right?
I've never heard that before.
Right.
Mostly from me.
I mean,
hey, Bob, I've got an idea.
That's our pitch. So I'm sure. So number one question, what was it about this project that really resonated to say, let me open my doors for these people to come in and really make a difference? And then number two, explain that time frame and why that is so crucial.
Sure. Well, it was really a no-brainer for me. I mean, a lot of what we do at the Vault, our mission at the studio is much broader than just a recording studio. We are very community focused. We have a foundation and a charity that we run that actually is also doing some matching funds for the SOS projects. We're actually matching any of the money that the music makes with an equal donation up to $2,000. So we've always been very community oriented, and a lot of the reason that I built this was to try to bring that community together. And so this was a natural extension. It was an opportunity to demonstrate that. The amount of time was extraordinary. I mean, you can imagine 60 different artists in the ordinary course is a lot to try to record. To do that in a socially distant, protocol where we literally, Eric hates when I say this, but it was kind of like a We Are the World kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And the number of faces that were in the
Eric,
song.
what's wrong with that? That's one of my favorite songs of all time.
Yeah,
MJ.
it was like that Pittsburgh version, I
Yeah.
suppose. Except we couldn't all stand on the risers together. That was
Yeah,
the thing. We couldn't
right.
get a group picture because of
Yeah.
Yeah.
COVID.
So we literally had to rotate all of the sessions. So the
Sure.
scheduling and the logistics and getting people in and getting them out, it just took a lot of time to do that. And then you could imagine the recording itself, the number of tracks that we had, and the editing and the comping and all the things that you would normally do when you have 60 different artists singing. There's a lot of vocal tracks,
Sure.
but I think it also comes out in the music. It sounds really cool as a
Yeah.
result of having that many people involved. But yeah, it was a tremendous undertaking that we really didn't even start to think about until very late in the year. So to do the recording, to do the editing, the mixing, and then the distribution, it's actually pretty amazing that we got it out as quickly as we did.
And for anyone who doesn't know, it's a song that's still available, right? So if you download it, how much is the download? 99 cents?
Yeah, it's 99 cents, and the Ryan Mccutchen Rhythm 19 Fund is matching any proceeds from the sale of that song, dollar for dollar, up to $2,000. So it's
And every proceed goes to
NEVA.
NEVA.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
It's
Yeah,
all
the Emergency Relief Fund,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is for the venues that we're trying to help.
So Adam, I guess then the next, that sort of was set up for you then.
Yeah.
So how does that look, and how does NEVA then, does that money go locally into our own, or is it a giant pot so that people can understand how it works?
Yeah, transparency. I mean, yeah, it can apply for Pittsburgh venues, but it is a national fund. Administered through the Giving Back Fund and worked through it's the National Independent Venue Foundation, which follows the mission of NEVA, which is more of an advocacy arm, but the foundation helps support and grow the industry as a whole. But yeah, I mean, to date, the Emergency Relief Fund, I think, has raised up to $3 million and is
Crazy.
we've done what's now called the SOS Fest, which was a 3-day virtually streamed festival from independent stages across the country, featuring artists from everybody from Miley Cyrus to Foo Fighters to Phoebe Bridgers and a couple others. And they were able to raise up to $3 million on top of individual contributions in amazing projects like what's happening here with SOS 2020. So it does have the potential to reach not only Pittsburgh venues that are able to apply for it, because the goal of the Emergency Relief Fund is to help those that are, literally at their wits' end and that are, weeks away from closing.
Yeah.
So really getting those funds out the door, getting them into the foundation, getting them out the door to venues as they need it. Because while we're in a very thankful situation that the new legislation passed with the Save Our Stages Act, we still don't have a concept of timing. We're still going on weeks and weeks without funding coming into venues that still have gone on now almost a year without money
and not to
coming in.
mention every venue is different. So you don't know the need from one to the other. It's not just some, token amount that goes to each person and says, okay, now you're saved. Everybody has a different level of need.
The need is just it's just so big across the board. Again, you can't you can't have businesses, completely shuttered for 12 months. Not only, and we've talked about this before, but not only, no revenue coming in, but venues still have the hard costs of owning or renting a building. They still have to pay the insurance. They still have to pay the rent and mortgage. Some of them still have staff on board, thankfully, if they're able to. And there's just so many hard costs that are associated with running a business like that, and to have no revenue. Any kind of support that comes in is, that's what the ERF is there to do and help support.
Yeah, I think it's just to add to that. I think it's really important. Obviously, to Adam's point, the legislation was critical, right? I mean, that's $15 billion allocated to the industry, but it's not the end all be all. And I think the concern I had was that the folks assume, well, now that legislation's passed, we'll be fine. Well, one, that cash isn't in hand yet. And two, this is a prolonged shutdown period. This is a Band-Aid. It'll buy some time. It'll help those who can survive until the time that money does come in. But the Emergency Relief Fund is absolutely critical to helping us bridge that gap. So I think a lot of what we were doing was, first and foremost, is just raising the awareness. Yeah. Right? Yeah, we can do what we can do to try to raise money. The stimulus money in $15 billion is a big chunk. We're not going to raise that kind of money, but we can raise the awareness and we can make people better understand that this is a long-term issue that's going to be with us for some time, and we're going to need all the help we can get.
And on top of it, music is how most people are finding solace at this point, right? Mm-hmm. If we didn't have music, whatever. So, Bob, my question for you is I want to talk a little bit about the history of why you're involved in what you did here. But so we have kind of the continuum of music. We have Eric as a representative, a microcosm of a writer, creator. And then we have Adam, who books them in the venues. And prior to that, they come into here and record a song. Adam books them. Then Eric and his peers, they go out and perform them. So I get where all this happens here. But what's your passion as far as being involved in helping the SOS? I know they're your friends, and I know they're your professional peers, and we want to keep them alive. But sort of where did you drudge up, or maybe not even drudge up? Why were you so heavily involved in this thing?
Yeah, my background is a little bit different in the sense that I've always been involved in music. I've had recording studios since the 80s, but I came up for the last 25 plus years in a corporate environment and with a business background, and this was sort of my passion on the side that I ultimately retired early from corporate and have been doing this because I am pursuing my passion, and music is the passion. But like I said earlier, I think a lot of this has to do with what drives me is the community side of this. It's bringing everybody together. I've always believed, and I continue to believe more now than ever, that Pittsburgh has amazingly talented artists, right? But we don't get the recognition in this city that a lot of other cities do. Yep. And part of that is because, Pittsburgh, we can be a little parochial, right? We are very neighborhood oriented, and we don't always come together in a way that I think we could to benefit ourselves. And so a lot of my focus has been on trying to understand and enable this music community to come together and be bigger collectively than we currently play.
That's a great point, because it's not recognition. It's almost like, well, it's recognition, but it's not. It's recognition for the fact that it exists, right? The talent is there. But it's not recognition like flashing lights, like, look at me. It's because we are Pittsburgh, and hey, this is something that we can do. Another great segue to the two of you. I'm not trying to make this telethon-like, but I really want to drive it home to people to understand, Eric, in your case, and I'm getting a little bit personal in the sense that you have a real job, right? As we say, a day job. So music is your passion. You're not relying just on the music industry, but we have to say disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. There are people who do. I mean, don't forget that as we are saying these heroes or these people who we're looking at in the hospitality industry, in the service industry, who have lost their jobs and we're so sad for, this is the same thing as John said. People are looking to entertainment to bring them up. But the catch-22 is the entertainers, if that's your sole job, what the hell are you doing? Because you can't perform. Talk a little bit about what music was like pre-COVID. So set us up for a band getting ready to go out to a Jurgles to perform, and then COVID hits.
Yeah, it was devastating. We had a full calendar. I know that most of my friends' bands, my peers, my competitors in some cases. I mean, we're a rock and roll band, so I focus mostly on the rock and roll genre, but we all had full calendars in and around town. There were at least 10 venues that we could reach out to and get a recurring gig at. Generally we're on most of these venues recurring calendars for every other month or so. And when you are regularly playing 3 or 4 or 5 venues in town, you can do basically gigs every single weekend. And then if you pepper that with out-of-town gigs, regional gigs, play in Ohio, you can play in Philly, you can play in Baltimore. We were never lacking for places to play. We were never lacking for opportunities to play. And then, and the opportunities that we had, we had a full calendar of national gigs too as well. I work with Adam a lot because his company brings in a lot of the national shows, and we have a great relationship. So he knows that he can come to my band and say, "Hey, I've got this great band coming in, and I think that you would be a good fit. Royal Honey would be a good fit to start that show." And that was a perfect relationship, perfect environment that worked for both parties. We were happy to promote it. We fit well with the nationals. And so when COVID hit, I had, I think it was 3, maybe 4 nationally booked gigs that I was supposed to open for, were immediately gone. One at a Hard Rock Cafe, one at Jurgles, one at the Craft House, and these are all great places to play. These are the they're the top sound systems in the area. It's a very professional gig. I can bring a video person in to video our set, and then and we look like one of those national bands that Adam brings in. So that whole carpet just got pulled right out from under us. And again, I don't make my sole living off of music. So the bands that do felt that, obviously they had all that same impact. They were losing their opportunities. They were gone. We didn't know when they were going to come back. I think originally we all thought, this will all come back probably by the fall. We thought maybe we endure this for 4 or 5 months and this will all be back to normal. Well, we're on a year now, and now we're looking at fall of 2021, I think. And you can probably speak more to when you think things might start to actually level back off and return to normalcy.
And I kind of want to piggyback off that point too, because it's the weirdly unique thing about our industry is it's very unique to other industries. It's not like a tech industry that if something like this were to happen, people are able to pivot. They're able to they're able to take different actions to be able to run their company as is. There's so many different subsectors of the live entertainment industry that I'm coming from the venue and promoter side that really do revolve around it, but when it comes to the 12 million that work in the live events industry, that doesn't include all the hundreds of thousands of musicians that are there on a national scale. Those that are making a living from being professional musicians. 70% of their income comes from touring musicians, from playing shows and playing touring gigs. When that whole system is disrupted, the entire ecosystem as a whole, whether it's the studio, whether it's the production companies, whether it's
the roadies, the ticket takers. There's layers. You're right.
The economic impact is exponential.
I came from prior to I've been in a band for 8 years. It really was. I tried to make it we really tried to make it like a full-time job. But realistically, when we were playing shows, that was fueling our business, so to say. So we were reinvesting all of our proceeds that we were making into doing stuff like going into the studio, like producing merch, like things that we would do as revenue generating activities by playing shows. And that's how we built that audience to be able to, as a business, be able to produce, sales. And whenever we can't play out, whenever we can't, find the passion to do that or have the ability to do that, that whole, system of being able to raise funds to go into the studio, to be able to record, to be able to produce merch, that's all gone. So I just want to talk about, I guess, the trickle down effect of when the venue goes away, all of these other different aspects of the ecosystem go away. So that's why, again, this communal aspect that it's, that it is a very, it's a very cherished, and it needs to be an equitable thing going forward, as far as making sure that this is a community that doesn't see each other as, again, like a Lawrenceville versus a Squirrel Hill versus a Southside versus anything like that. This is really a community effort, and that's why I'm so appreciative of things that are happening like this.
Well, and so I want to, to people listening, people watching, they sit there, look, you guys, we're having a hard time too, right? Somebody watching us goes, look, I'm a server, I'm having a hard time too. But again, there's this thing about, your industry, what'd you say, 12 million?
There's 12 million live event workers.
Yeah, and so we're not sitting here doing this podcast to say, "Oh, woe is us." We're sitting here saying these three gentlemen and all the other people involved in it have decided to pull up their britches, put their big boy pants on, and go learn the business of the business or execute the business of the music business, get to Washington, get this money, and now we have the money, and now it's a matter of how we're going to distribute the money and how we can help others raise more money, right? So that's what we want to do, and that's what the song SOS does, right? This is a way that I can't go to work today. I'm sitting with my kids. I'm going to go download a song. Well, if you're going to go download a song, download this one because it makes that 99 cents makes an impact. Tell your 5 friends to go download a song. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great point. There's a line in the song, having our voices heard, right? I think the thing that's somewhat unique, not entirely unique, but somewhat unique with this group is they are a large number of independent business owners, entrepreneurs who don't always have a collective voice, right? And so NEVA and a lot of these efforts are really trying to lend a voice to a group of people who didn't necessarily have a large collective voice because they're all small businesses, right? And so this was a way to kind of bring that together and just highlight that they are one of many. We get it. There are a lot of folks struggling through this pandemic, but it felt like this was one group who was maybe underappreciated or didn't have the same voice that some others had.
Overlooked.
Or maybe
I just
overlooked,
don't,
yeah.
and I think I can say that because you're within it, but I think I can say that because again, if I'm down, if I'm having a bad day, like you said, I'm gonna go listen to music. I'm going to go out. I can't. Okay, well that sucks. But have we explored why? Who are the people that made that possible? Right?
I guess because at least from my perspective, like the main point that we want to try and get across is that, from day to day, yes, like the experience of going to a concert is a luxury, but at the core of it, we want people to understand that now, like this is not a luxury. These are people's livelihoods that are at stake. So we want people to understand that when you go to a show. There are people that live and die by the shows that they do, by the shows they perform at, and really understanding that yes, it is a luxury in a sense, but just the necessity that of understanding what happens really behind the scenes and who makes this industry happen. To Bob's point, like the advocacy aspect of this is so critical because you never had people paying attention to really the live events industry when it came to issues on Capitol Hill, and now seeing majority politics it's a huge bipartisan effort, but seeing people like Majority Leader Chuck Schumer wearing a Save Our Stages mask on Capitol Hill, that's from the efforts of people raising their collective voices and making this a top of the hill issue. So I can't stress it enough that the point of making our voices heard is what has made this campaign so successful.
It's interesting maybe to take an optimistic or point of view, or to look at maybe the bright side of what's possible here. Artists are creators, right? And so if there's one bright spot that I've seen is we've all redirected our energies, right? When we can't perform live, when we can't be out in public, it's been encouraging to see how many artists have redirected that energy into creating, right? To writing new music, creating new projects. And so I do think that when we get on the backside of this, whenever that might be, I think we're going to be blown away by some of the art that has been created during this period, because that's what we've been able to use our time.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
And it'll be a whole heck of a lot easier to explain that and enjoy that than versus all the babies that are coming out of the pandemic, right? Because when I talk about the pent-up frustration that happened with people, right? So I'd rather listen to a music than find out I have 4 kids coming,
It's going to be
right?
a musical baby boom, right?
Right. So let's lighten it up a little bit here. We do want, listen, if you're listening to the podcast, put it on pause, go download the song, and they download the song from...
You can find that at it's sos2020pgh.org, and that is it's www.sos2020pgh for Pittsburgh.org, And you can find everything there. The song is there. We did a full video from this studio. Our friend Alexis from Alexis Art and Design, talk about a labor of love. She between
Fantastic.
So between Bob mentioned Rocky and how many audio tracks we had collected, because there were 60 musicians. We probably had 200 audio tracks between guitars and all the vocals.
Wow.
And Rocky did the heavy lifting, Bob a lot of it as well, but Rocky did the heavy lifting on trying to make that, funnel that down into usable stuff, what was the best, and he's really the one that drove the mix of the song. So everything that you hear, Rocky took a lot and funneled it down into the final version of the song. Bob obviously mixed it here on this console, but then for every audio track, Alexis had video of all the musicians, and she put this fantastic video together. So again, this is probably 3 weeks worth of nonstop work on her part, and the video is out there as well. So please, just I can't emphasize enough to just take a moment and to just appreciate the number of hours that people put, donated all of their time, and it's just different artistic visions. You've got the artistic vision of the song, you've got the artistic vision of the video. Now you've got this artistic vision of these community shows that Rocky had the idea for, and we're just trying to roll, like he said, with the art and the creative side of this, and trying to roll it into a community side now.
And like you said, it's a sink or swim, right? I mean, you get to a point where it's like, we have got to make this work, because like you said, we thought at first, this is 3 months. Oh wait, this is going to take us to the fall. Oh my gosh, it's the end of the year. Where are we now? And because it is so fluid, hate the word, but here we are in 2021, still using words like pivot and fluid,
Yep.
But it's the reality. And so how can we be resourceful? Because we can sit here and say, oh my gosh, woe is me. Or we can look at situations like the damn Thunderbird Cafe closing and saying, oh, but we still have Jurgles, or we still have another location. So how do we fuel that upset, that, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened, into positivity? And I think that's exactly what you guys are doing. So Adam, if people, obviously we want them to download the song, but if people want to, if they're looking to make a donation or they want to support more, how does NEVA how do we support NEVA as well?
Yeah, first, definitely buy the song. It's great.
Over and over. Just
Over
keep
and
buying
over.
the song.
Listen, buy it. For NEVA specific, if you go to www.saveourstages.com, there is a giant green donate button in the top right of the webpage that goes straight to the NEVA Emergency Relief Fund, which is administered through the Giving Back Fund. You can make any donation of any size that you'd like. Anything helps. There's also merch available for purchase. If you're looking to drive things locally, again, go check out your venue, see if they have staff relief funds to help their staff, if they have merch available.
That's a good point, yeah.
If they have any kind of gift cards available, if they're doing any kind of operation, takeout, cafe operations, go there, pay them a visit, buy a coffee, buy, whatever you can. But, yeah.
And Bob, we're all coming here to record. How do we do that?
You can give me a call on thevaultrecording.com. You can find us and all the stories, all the links to everything that we're doing, including all of our community activity.
Yeah.
And
This is just such a good story.
I love it. Yeah. All right. So we have a question of the day and all that kind of stuff, but let's do some rapid fire, like off the cuff, right?
Go.
Real quick here.
Go.
All right. Go down the line real quick here. We'll start with Bob, Eric, then Adam. All right. Favorite gig food. The gig is over. Favorite gig food.
Goes to food.
Come on. Favorite gig food, Bob.
I got to go with a big heaping of nachos, I think.
Nice.
Yeah.
Eric.
Pizza.
Adam.
I plated the Smiling Moose a lot when I first started, so anything of the Smiling Moose.
Okay. All right. Going.
Favorite concert of all time, Bob?
Oh, favorite concert of all time. There's been a lot of them. I actually have to say, when I saw Paul McCartney open Console Energy,
I've only known you 8 minutes, but I knew you were going to say that just based on what you told
there
me.
was something. I could go on about a lot of great.
I have a great
concerts.
story
That
I'll
one
tell
has-
you offline about Pete Hewlett and him. Yeah, but go ahead, Eric.
Probably Pink Floyd in 1994 at Three Rivers.
That gave me chills. Do you remember 1994?
I was 1 year old.
I saw him in '87 as well. I saw him in '87 too, and he was -6. So.
Adam.
Beat Adam up right now.
Adam, best favorite.
I promise I'm not going to give a Gen Z comment. It was either Eric Clapton at Mellon Arena or Ben Folds with the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra at the Benham Center.
Did he fool us?
Nice.
Right?
Yeah. All right, we'll do last one. First concert. This is where I'll admit my very first concert ever was with my sister. We saw the Osmond Brothers. So Adam, we're all to raise money for SOS. We're all going to kick the crap out of Adam right here for being so young. And until you donate $1,000, we just keep punching him for being so young. But Bob, first concert.
I've got a similar one. My first concert, my parents took me to see the Bee Gees.
Oh my gosh, it's another one. That's great.
We all have this. I get this question a lot, and I always answer it two ways. I'm like, the first concert that I chose to go to was Iron Maiden in, I think, 1985, and that was at the arena, and that was the one I wanted to. Prior to that, though, I was dragged to a Neil Diamond concert with my sister. My parents made us
one of
go,
those too.
and that was they're coming to America.
They're coming to America today.
Oh, I had to sit there.
Hit the record button.
It was Eric Clapton at Mellon Arena.
Okay, so that's why it was the most memorable. That's fantastic. I'm going to stay back and say John is not beating anyone up. We'll dunk tank because we want positivity, not. Mine was Shannon
non-violent podcast.
or Huey Lewis in the news. Yeah. Wow, that shows my bicentennial baby. Guys, we absolutely love this time. Whatever we can do to help, please continue to reach out and please, real quickly, let everybody know about this concert series so that we can know how community-wide we can help support this even more.
Yeah, so the song has kind of morphed into this concert series, which is awesome. There are 4 weeks scheduled right now, and we're hoping to expand that. They start on January 28th, and they run 4 Thursdays in a row through February 18th. There are 3 bands on each bill. So right now, 12 of the bands who participated in the SOS 2020 song are on the SOS PGH concert series. Like I said, we are hoping to expand that, and we're hoping to expand it to bands that actually weren't able to participate in the song. Because we had the invites out to people to bands and friends that weren't even getting together at the time. They weren't comfortable, even coming outside. So, we're hoping that through these live streams, and these are live streams, so there's no audience there. We're live streaming them over the internet, and so we do have the ability to pump these out to an audience that's outside of the Pittsburgh demographic, which I'm excited about. But yeah, those will start this week. On Thursday, my band Royal Honey is kind of anchoring the first show, so we'll be playing with our friends in the Cheats and Middle Finger Punk. So it's a little bit of diversity, and it's in diverse genres. Again, the song and the concert series both right now just kind of mix some rock and roll bands, some heavy metal bands, some punk bands. We're hoping that future installments will have some blues, some R&B, maybe even some hip hop or rap. We're looking at soul. We've got a couple of leads on soul music singers. So again, to kind of accelerate the whole community idea, we're really looking beyond even the song. We're looking beyond maybe even Pittsburgh's borders now, the regional borders. So who knows where this can go.
Give a shout out to Pianos and Stuff too for lending the cafe next door, which I felt for them because they had just sort of finished that space right before the pandemic and haven't really had a chance to fully leverage the space yet. But they've been gracious enough to allow that space to be used for the live stream. I feel a Toyota tailgate
coming on.
I know,
right?
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Question of the day. We weren't going to do this because we rapid fired you, but. Record player, 8-track, cassette, CD, or live stream? Bob.
Yes.
Which? All right, Eric.
I'm gonna say CD still.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go record player.
Really? I love that that's coming back.
Yeah, I've been expanding the vinyl again.
It's awesome. It's amazing, guys. This is truly going to go down as one of my favorite podcasts. I appreciate the time. Thank you for what you're doing, and we're going to thank Roar Conda, right?
Yeah. Well, so let's thank Bob McCutchen from Vault Recordings and Eric Roger. If you're in Pittsburgh, and you say Walmart's and Sheetz's, you'd say Eric Rogers, but there's no S in it.
Sally Wiggins.
Right. And Adam Valen.
And Aldi's.
Valen, thank you so much from Drusky Entertainment. Can't thank you guys enough. And of course, thank you to Rory Conda, our sponsor.
Thank you.
While used cars are always an option to buy, a slew of 2021 models are in demand since production changed the car options for many of the 2020 vehicles. Whether an oldie but goodie or a new must-have high-tech vehicle, visit Rorick.com for all of your vehicle needs.
Cool. Now let me ask you a question. Before we stop recording here real quick, do we want to put the song at the... Normally we put the song at the end of the podcast, but we want people to buy it. So,
Yeah, that's a good
question. So we wouldn't really want to put the song
Because if they hear it on the podcast,
of course,